All right, you guys, it is Monday. It is September 23rd. Pretty cool day for me. I picked the wheels up from Powder Coat, so I got them sitting here. We're about to install the new wheel bearings on this bike, so I just wanted to show you what I'm doing. I'm not using a bearing installer. I'm using a bearing and seal driver kit. So gonna take some time. We're gonna get these bearings in for you. Super excited with the way that these wheels turned out. They're absolutely gorgeous, beautiful all the way around. So I'm excited. Had a dentist appointment for my son this morning, so we went and got that taken care of, and then we headed over to Powder Coat, picked up these wheels. Gonna send a couple more parts out to them. I got triple trees I'm gonna send out to them. Also got some covers I'm gonna send out. So gonna get this bike 100% dialed in for you guys. I just wanted to show you the process here, what we're gonna do, how we're gonna get these bearings installed, and wanted to show you these new wheels because they are amazing. All right, so like I said before, these wheels are fresh. They have a gloss mirror finish on them. The wheels themselves were not perfect when I brought them in. They definitely needed a lot of work done to them. So I powder coated them to take any of the imperfections away, and they turned out absolutely perfect. So the tools that you're gonna need for this job are pretty basic. You're gonna want a set of rubber gloves because you're gonna be putting your Harley wheel bearing grease. There's a little spacer that goes in between your bearings. You wanna make sure you run those. It's like a long sleeve. You're gonna wanna grease those with some fresh wheel bearing grease. Then you're gonna want to get this all buttoned up by sealing those bearings in around it. So you'll start your first side, you'll get those down flush, then you'll flip it over, you'll put your wheel spacer, your axle spacer in there in between the bearings, then you'll drive in your other bearing. I'm using a bearing and race driver tool here, so that's all I'm going to use. That along with some fresh wheel bearing grease, and we're running sealed bearings. These wheels are from a 2003, so they run that sealed bearing setup. Kind of a little bit nicer than your basic Timken. So your Timken bearings, it was like a tapered roller bearing that would sit inside of a race, and then you had a dust shield. Those were nice because you could service them by removing that oil seal, and then you could repack the bearings, put them back in as long as they were good. But the problem with those ones is they did require maintenance. Every time you were doing a tire, you would want to pull that oil seal, you would want to check the bearings, you would want to repack them. With these, you're running a sealed bearing unit, so it's keeping all that dirt, all that crud out. You don't have to run a separate seal. You don't have to have as much maintenance. With these, you're just pulling the old bearings whenever they go bad and replacing them with new ones. They tend to last a long time. So a lot of questions I get asked is, how long do your wheel bearings last? I've seen people go 60,000 miles without ever changing a wheel bearing. Then again, if you're running a trike or you're running a dresser, I've seen people change them in 15, 20,000 miles. So on this bike, we're gonna run the sealed bearings. I probably will not have to change these for the life of the wheels. So what you wanna do is you wanna make sure that your driver attachment itself fits into that race very nicely. So you want to make sure that it goes all the way in, that you're not going to be catching it on anything, because you got to seat these down inside. So this is a 50 millimeter on here, and it fits perfectly in. There's a little bit of play, but that's all right, because when it's sitting on the outside of your bearing, it's actually directly on this outside piece of the bearing. That's what you want. You don't want it to be sitting on this inside. If it damages this inside, it's going to damage the whole bearing. So I just set it in here, kind of press it a little bit. I'm also going to put a piece of wood under it here so that it kind of stabilizes it for us. And we're just gonna tap this a little bit. You're seating it nice and flush on here, and you want to make sure you're not hitting this inner, because if you do damage that inner, like I said, it damages the whole bearing. But once you get it started, and again, guys, this is just like when we were putting the races in the neck of the bike. You're gonna wanna listen for that tone change. Once you hear a tone change while you're driving this in, that's how you know it's seated. And then you'll also wanna inspect it with your fingers on the inside as well to make sure it's good and seated properly. So we're gonna give it a couple more taps just to make sure it's good. But you could hear that tone change. It is completely different. So now we're gonna flip this over. We're gonna find our spacer. So we're gonna make sure that the spacer is clean. So we're gonna take this spacer, we're gonna lubricate it with some wheel bearing grease. So that way, once it's in here, it'll be nice and greased. We'll be good to go. We'll also grease the axle when we put it in. That way we know that it's nice and lubricated. All right, so that's how you install wheel bearings without a bearing installer. And I'm gonna get the valve stems, probably gonna buy brand new ones. I don't like to run anything old, especially on these new wheels. So get the valve stems in, we'll get the tires put on, and then we're gonna start getting our chain drive set up. All right, so we are getting ready here to start doing the rear wheel. So we're gonna get this one taken care of too. But I also wanted to let you guys know, whenever you are doing this, replace all of the bolts that are going to your rear pulley and your front rotors and your rear rotor. You don't want to run them old ones. Some people I know do, they Loctite them, but it's cheap insurance. Just go buy the Harley ones, put brand new ones in every time. Then you don't have to worry about anything bad happening. If you have a thread chaser, run that down through there. Make sure there's no crust or anything bad in there that may cause a seating issue with these bolts, because once you put these on, you want to torque them down. You want to leave them unless you're doing something else to the rear wheel. All right, you guys, so I'm getting ready to seat this last one. I just want to see if you guys can hear this tone change when it seats.